Hey everybody, welcome to Realm of the Sacred Roots. It's been a while since we've chatted, and so I wanted to talk to you today about shape shifting and energy. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with clearing your chakras. I'm not sure how many of you do that, but I think it's important to ensure that you're clear of any blocks. So I do mine. I try to do mine maybe 3 to 4 times a day. I probably should do it even more so. I also do it the Native American way, which is using elements. That's what we say is closest to Great Spirit. So that's the way I clear mine. Everyone has their own way and how they choose to clear themselves, but just ensure that you're clear. That way, you're ensuring that your field is strong and that you're ready to go for anything, any kind of spirit work that you're going to do. I also want to encourage you to do energy exercises. I used to do this exercise with a friend of mine. We would call like throwing the energy ball back and forth. If you've never tried it, you really should. It's pretty cool. And it's just, I consider these some of the basics that you do, but where you can actually feel the energy. And you throw it to them, they throw it back to you, and you sit there for a while doing this back and forth, back and forth. That's a good thing to do. And also, you can do the pendulum. When I use the pendulum, I ensure that I hold it. Make sure your elbow is like on a table. This is how I do it. I'm just going to use my necklace for an example. And make sure your hand is flat like this. It's just hard to show you right now with the video, but I'm just going to use the necklace as a pendulum. But if your hand is flat and your elbow is on the table, make sure, and this is stopped here, you can actually stop it. But if your elbow is on the table, it's not going to allow you to move. And you keep your hand straight. And then make sure, here, let me lift this. My hand isn't in the form it should be because I'm trying to show you the pendulum itself. But once you get it still and steady, then you can go around both ways, like do the circle. Oh, my hand is moving because it's not on the table. And I can't really quite show it to you with my hand in the air. But my point is once you move it in one direction with your energy, not moving your hands or your fingers, then you move it back the other way. And then you can also swing it back and forth, and you should be able to also stop it. It's frustrating that I can't show it to you with my elbow on the table, but you'll be able to do that once you just continue to practice if you can't do it already. It's just a good way to ensure that you're controlling the energy that's around you, especially if you're an empath. It's a good way to ensure that the energy that's yours is yours. Any energy that might be coming at you, you can control your space. Okay, so if you can control the pendulum, you'll be able to control that space that's around you. So again, it has to do more with energy work. So those are good things to practice. Also, during your meditation, ensure that you're practicing shifting. I went into deep meditation the other night and I had to shift. Usually your intuition or your higher self will tell you. If you're unsure and you just ask, it will tell you what to shift into. I had to travel to the underworld and then I needed to go higher, and I was unsure what method, animal, what should I use in order to shift. And your higher self will tell you. For me, it was dragon, so I shifted into dragon and I was able to reach the destination that I needed to get to. So make sure you listen to yourself. I'm trying to throw these at you kind of fast so I can fit this lesson into a short period of time. I also want to keep your attention because I think if I pack it with some really good things, you might be able to use these things, practice it, and incorporate it into your own system, into your own toolbox of what you're using. Also, if you're unsure of what to shift into what you're comfortable with. For me, animals. mythological animals, any kind of animal for me is usually it. Elements for me. I have a friend, monsters would be more his thing. Some people might be aliens. I mean, the sky's the limit. Inanimate objects, excuse me, you choose what you shift into and you practice doing that. Again, remember, this is your energy you're shifting. There have been times when I've shifted unknowingly, meaning your spirit, your higher self shifts for you. I've had times where I was, again, I use the term underworld, where there are dark caverns and there are caves, and there was a group of, I'll call them people. They weren't human, but they were like surrounded in a circle, and they had dark robes and hoods on. And I was right there listening to what they were whispering and saying and talking until they realized I was there. It took a little while before they realized I was there. But obviously, I didn't get down there in human energy. It took them a while before they even recognized that I was there. And then they turned around, and they scrambled away once they noticed I was there listening. And it's happened not too long ago where I was astral traveling and I was way high above the ocean. And there was this man alone on an island. And again, I'm calling these people men, people, humans, but most of the time for me, it may not be. But anyways, he saw me way above coming onto this island from way up high. And he looked up and he said, "How did you find me?" And it kind of snapped me out of my traveling when he said that. My point is sometimes without knowing, your higher self will shift you into what you need to shift into in order to get to where you need to go. So if you don't know what to shift into, in meditation, your higher self will kick in and let you know what to shift into. Another example, when I went into that deep meditation, and I haven't meditated really deep like that in a while, but when I have to do some serious traveling, you need to get into that super, super relaxed state. At least I do. When I was done, I have these crows that I feed outside of my home. There's 6 of them, and they always come out there different times of the day. They call for me. And so I come out and I went to feed them. And we're still getting to know each other. But that same time, I mean, this was like right after my meditation, I walked out there and a couple of them stayed right where they were at. Usually they fly a little bit away, not that far, but just a little bit away because they're still uncomfortable with around humans. But because I was meditating and because I had shifted your energy, remember, I don't transcend might be the wrong word, but it changes. When you clear your chakras, when you're meditating deeply, and when you shift into something other than what we are, animals feel it. You don't mean them any harm, etc., etc. They can tell your energy has changed, and they didn't fly away. A couple of them stayed right there while I was putting the food down for them. Normally they would fly away. They were watching me, but that they did not fly away that time, and I felt different. I felt different. I didn't have my shoes on. I was grounded, and I could tell that I wasn't in that fleshly state. So if you really want to test it out, you can. And I think it's pretty amazing what we can do as humans. We just don't give ourselves enough credit and enough time to practice and enough time to do these tests and do the meditations and the things that we need to do in order to become more like spirit here. A friend of mine says, she tells everyone that I'm both light and dark, which I am. And so I say that to tell you that sometimes you might have to travel to places. You might have to travel a little further to the light. You might have to travel a little further to the dark. And you can get into light and dark, and there is none, and there is however you want to describe it. This is just how I describe it for me. Um, but you might have to do that traveling in order to get the tools that you need for your work. It doesn't mean you're, a bad person if you have to go over here a little bit to meditate to darker music. When I meditate, usually it's to Native American music, but I knew for the work that I was going to do, for the place that I had to go, for the things that I needed to get, I was meditating to some Norse, some badass Norse music, and I loved it, which is one of my past lives. And so for me, that beat, that it's almost like that Viking power, whatever that was, you can go there. And remember that too. You're not limited to who you are in this lifetime. You're not limited to what you currently are. You can pull from your past lives. I can go to the islands, and I can talk. We can go to the Orishas or the Loas, and where else do you want to go? Do you have ancestors and I mean Native Americans, and what about, it's endless. It's endless. You can go into your past and pull from whatever you need. I have a friend who's Korean, and her ancestors, every time I read her, are right there, like right there. And I'm like, girl, you need to go. Like, your grandma shows up every time, and in her cards, it's always talking about her ancestors. I'm like, you need to ask for help for this, because they show up and they're powerful and they're like a tribe behind her. I'm like, you need to ask them for some help, because they're like waiting for you just to talk to them. So use what you have at your disposal. I think it's important and it's pressing. I have a family member that's going through some hard times right now. I know we're getting a little bit away from shifting now, but I kind of just got onto the ancestor thing real quick. But she's going through hard times, and when I pulled her cards, things looked so like it looked pretty negative actually. It was some pretty tough stuff she's going through. But the one positive card was her ancestor card, which I knew because it's my grandma, which is her grandma. Um, and so it was like, okay, because I know she's looking out, because she used to be cool. She used to be, my grandma, who's Indian, used to be cool with Kali, and I'm thinking, yeah, I know she's looking out for you. So I didn't have much worries for her. My point is, use everything at your disposal. So, okay, so back to the shifting. Let me make sure I covered everything. Making sure that your frequency stays high. That's important. So that goes back to, for me, the clearing of the chakras. Making sure that it stays high. We call it, it's saying that, okay, you're shredding this, your flesh. And that's how I was taught that when you're clear like that, it just says that you're shedding flesh and you're becoming one with Great Spirit. You're walking on the same frequency, is how we say it. So that's just that goes with it. And the shifting is really important. I'm not sure how many people actually do it as often as they should, or as often as they could. I have lots of shifting stories, and I really enjoy it. So, anyways, if you have any questions on it, I try to keep it a relatively short video. If you have any questions, just go ahead and list them down in the comments, or if you've had any experiences with it, just go ahead and leave a comment down below. I tried to fit as much in as I could having to do with energy work, practicing, and trying it out on animals that are around you. Even healing, by the way, I almost forgot. After the meditation, after the crows, like, use it. My dog sliced his lip because I have a boxer and I have a Belgian Malinois, and they were play fighting, which they do often, and the boxer had his lip sliced open. So I held on to him and I used that power because again, I wasn't walking down here. I was walking in spirit. And I felt that healing energy. Now I just told you I went to the underworld. I just told you I shifted into a dragon. So it's not dark energy. I call it light. I do call it light and dark, but it's not, I should say, evil. It's not that type, okay? It's like dark matter, but not evil. Remember, I deal with the death currents too. That doesn't mean it's evil. So I think a lot of people get hung up on definitions. But anyways, I was able to hold him, and let that healing light come down through me and push it out through me and push it. I'm also a healer, right? We're multiple things as spiritualists, and push that light through him. He stopped bleeding, almost he was just dripping blood. It was dripping all over me. It got all over my shirt. He stopped bleeding and he calmed down and everything was good and he's fine. So I feel like there's so many things in our daily lives that we can handle, that we can settle, that we can fix, that we just don't take the time or the opportunity to do so. But anyways, I'm excited about shifting and energy work and all of that. So okay, well, I hope you guys have a good evening, and leave any comments below. And hopefully next time I will grab an item and be able to. I don't have anything right here because I promised I would do an item for you next time, one of my death items, but this one I wanted to make real quick for you. So have a good night. Thanks for joining me.